Yeah, you wish you could be on my level. This is recording. 3, 2, 1. One of those will work.
Welcome back to the Movie Draft House. I'm your host, Mark, joined by co-host Jeff.
Hey, Mark, how you doing?
I'm doing well.
I'm
How are
going to
you?
pretend like I haven't been in the same room with you for the last 2 hours and 12 minutes.
Yeah. And that's there's a hair. It's a stray hair on the microphone.
That's only you and I use these mics.
It's probably my hair.
Yeah.
Could have been your hair.
If it was long, it was my hair.
Anyways, welcome back to the Movie Draft House. We are. Am I number 2 on here? You said I was number 2.
You're number 2. So that knob turns up your headphone volume.
Okay. What turns up my mic?
Your
volume?
gain is the knob above that.
This.
No. You turn that.
This.
That's the fart button.
Yeah.
Right.
No, I don't want the fart button.
There you go.
Can you hear me?
Oh, my
Oh
gosh.
God, this sounds
You're so
good.
loud. Holy shit. Let me turn myself up there.
It's like this is the first time we've ever done this.
Yeah. Wow, I'm loud. Holy shit. Let me turn myself down. Okay.
Anyways, welcome back to the Movie Draft House. You can turn me down.
No, I'll just turn my headphones down because I
Okay.
think that's the problem.
It is our last week of American historical events.
You know, sometimes, like, we get to the end of a theme, and I'm just like, thank God.
Yeah.
And it's not even that the movies are that bad, but I look back at make me hate this or make me like
Yeah.
this actor
Yeah,
or movies starring comedians in serious roles.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
being at the end of it and being like, thank God. There have been a few where I haven't been like that, like erotic thrillers, Van
Right.
Damme,
Yeah. Musicals.
musicals. Like by the end, I'm like, hey, I could do that again.
Right.
I don't want to do this one again. I mean,
So we're at the end of American Historical Events Month. We just watched.
Vice from 2018,
Yeah.
starring Christian Bale, Amy Adams, Steve Carrell, directed and written by Adam McKay,
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot more people in this film. but-
Allison Pill, Tyler Perry. Like those are the big players.
I mean, there's cameos by
Lisa
different
Gay Hamilton,
different folks.
Jesse Plemons.
Yeah. So we're in the middle of watching this, right? And
Literally like an hour into it.
We're
And
an
this will give you an idea when we recorded this.
and I look at my phone because my phone vibrated, and I look at it and I got this alert, and it says President Joe Biden drops out of 2024 presidential race.
We had to pause the movie.
In the middle of American historical events,
Dealing with presidencies.
watching a movie about one of the worst presidential tickets. I don't know, like presidential combinations of president and vice president that the country has ever seen, and we get this notification on my phone. I'm like, this is it's too on the nose.
Man.
It was too on the nose, and it honestly it really took me out of the movie a little bit. Is because one, I have seen this movie before, and it's been a couple months, but this is my second time watching it, and it is a satire, right? Would you classify it as a satire?
What? No, only because
I mean, there's some satirical moments.
there are some very comedic, fourth wall breaking. There are, yes, satirical. I wouldn't consider the film a satire, but it does try to have fun with really serious source material in certain moments. There are some very funny moments. Of course, the false ending being chief among them,
right.
which was hilarious. And then oh man, the reveal of who Jesse Plemons is
Yeah.
blew my balls off.
Did it? Okay.
Yeah, I had no idea what was coming, and I seriously thought he was going to be, you know, in someone's cabinet or married to Liz Cheney or something. And when it turned out to be who he was, I was like, holy shit. And so, but yeah, I don't want to get too much into my feelings about it. But yeah, I mean, there are satirical moments. I loved this fucking movie. This was really good.
Okay.
I loved the tone. I loved the cast. Holy shit.
I think you're an Adam McKay fan too.
Am I? Because we've seen another of his movies, and I remember looking at his filmography and being mixed, generally speaking. But I will look at that a little bit. But I just this tone really worked for me in a movie that you would be like watching a movie about a vice president or a president or anything historical. I'm usually a little weary. I'm not necessarily going in being like, hell yeah, this is going to be great. But the tone of the film really did a lot for me.
Yeah, it is. So it starts with the casting. They knocked it out of the park with the casting here. Christian Bale as Dick Cheney, even though Dick Cheney is, and it says it right at the beginning, one of the more secretive and reclusive American political figures that the country has ever known, he still was a prominent person in pop culture.
Yes.
And so Christian Bale playing this man who in his later years, and he's still alive, but
threw me off at the movie. I'm like, is he going to die in this movie? Didn't Dick Cheney, isn't he alive as of right now? Things can change moment to moment, but
I think so. I think he is, but
I'm pretty sure he is. But
I don't remember.
It's not like I have the internet right in front of me.
I don't remember the country burying a vice president.
I feel like I'd remember that.
Right.
What's the last vice president you remember that died? And then you can't say one that's been president, so HW doesn't count.
Vice president. I don't think there's been one in my life.
Is Gerald Ford still alive? No, he died.
No, he died. Yeah, he's dead.
But he was president at one point. So
but that was before I was born.
I think every vice president is still alive.
Right, yeah.
As long as they weren't president.
Yeah. I think that's correct.
John Adams is, well, no, he got to be president. Oh.
Somebody check on Mike Pence.
Yeah. Dan Quayle, I think, is the one we really need to be thinking about. That's a deep cut.
But no, I mean Christian Bale, he gained a ton of weight to play Dick Cheney,
and then they slapped on prosthetics. It feels like, bro, you don't need to. Oh, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna eat. That's like the excuse I would use.
I like food.
It's like what's his name? Jim Gaffigan has a thing. I'm preparing for a roll. A cinnamon roll.
No, but that's Christian Bale's shtick, right?
Yeah.
He is a what do they call it? Method acting.
Yeah,
it's a form of method acting where you contort your body, transform your body into whatever the role asks.
I usually think method acting is just you're an asshole. Generally,
I think there's different types, but I think like conditioning your body for like to the extreme is part of some form of acting. And then you have Steve Carrell which was spot on as Donald Rumsfeld.
That was the one where I'm not as familiar with Donald Rumsfeld for me to be like he nailed it. Because I had a hard time not seeing. Okay, well, was he great
he looks
in the film?
Like the man.
Yes, he was great in the film, but Sam Rockwell as George W. Bush is incredible.
All right, I don't remember if Sam Rockwell got nominated. I know Christian Bale did, but
he would be like supporting. Right?
It would have been a supporting role, but I don't remember. I think McKay got a director nomination for this. I don't think it got a Best Picture nomination, but.
So the winning award was Achievement in Makeup.
Okay, that makes sense.
Rockwell got nominated for supporting.
Okay.
Adams got nominated for supporting. Bale got nominated for leading role.
Yep.
And the film got nominated for Best Picture.
Oh, it did? Okay, good. So McKay didn't get one.
Hold on, let me look. Achievement in directing, Adam McKay. Best original screenplay, Adam McKay. Film editing, Hank Corwin.
Yeah.
But the only win was makeup, which the makeup's pretty good.
Oh, I mean, it was very believable. I mean, Amy Adams, one of the better looking actresses in Hollywood, looked every bit of.
I gotta say,
she's the third member of this podcast.
Yes, she has become the third. I'm trying to think of outside of like Van Damme, who has been in more like Van. So we had the months dedicated to Van Damme, McConaughey.
Yeah.
So McConaughey's probably up there, but Amy Adams, I think, is just the most organic.
Yeah.
Like she's in a bunch of movies we've done.
I would like to know how many movies of hers.
No one knows.
Right.
And I'm not going to look.
We'd have to go back and look.
And I don't want to.
Right. Okay.
Because no one wants to sit and watch me look on the internet.
I don't.
Which I'm doing right now.
No, but the fact that this film was nominated for like 7 or 8 Academy Awards tells you that there's this in the fact that it was as comedic as it was, as satirical in parts as it was, that there's room in the Academy for this type of film. And Adam McKay, who is he's an off the kind of the beaten path director. Him and Christian Bale are buds.
Are they? So let me say, because you had said that I'm a fan of him, and I wasn't sure. I looked at his filmography. I'm a fan because he did the other guys. He did like Anchorman. He generally, and that explains the tone of the film, directs a lot of comedies.
The Big Short.
The other guys, Step Brothers, are 2 movies that I adore. Talladega Nights. I mean, Anchorman. So yeah, I am an
What's
Adam
weird
McKay
is that
fan.
there wasn't room for Will Ferrell in this film.
Bro, if they had done On the Note like Will Ferrell doing George W. again, I think people would have thought it was just a full-on comedy, and it would have derailed things.
No, but I think like, and so Adam McKay getting his start in comedy, and then kind of transforming to this. Hey, I want to talk about some heavy stuff, but with comedic stuff sprinkled in. I too am a fan of his. I thought George W. Bush and Sam Rockwell. I mean, the movie portrayed George W. Bush as a buffoon. And I don't know how accurate that is.
They did, but they didn't make him like a goofy buffoon. They just kind of showed him as being
like didn't know what he's
Cheney's
doing.
Puppet. Basically.
Yeah, right, essentially. And like I don't. That's the thing. That's the problem I have with this movie. Even though it was entertaining and I enjoyed watching it, I don't necessarily know how much of this was true.
Right.
And I would like to know how much of this was true, or how much it was kind of just not made up but inferred, or like dots. They connected the dots between certain things. It's because this movie
did their fucking best to quote the film.
Right. This movie goes a long way to tell you that Dick Cheney created ISIS
in a roundabout way. He didn't like call the guy. He goes like, you need to do ISIS.
But like, I mean, the movie does paint the picture that the Bush and Cheney administration was so much responsible for a lot of the turmoil that is going on in the world today, that I don't know if I can believe a good chunk of it, right? Now, the stuff that I was alive for, I remember,
But you were alive during the entirety of the Bush.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but like, a lot of the stuff that happened in the like the Colin Powell thing, where they tell him to make this speech in front of the UN, and he's got to kind of lie through his teeth.
Yeah.
Like I mean, even though the film, like Jesse Plemons' character quotes Colin Powell as saying that was the darkest point of his life. Like, what's the context there? Is that a direct quote? Did that actually happen? I just like, there's a lot of this movie that I'm like, oh, that's juicy, but is it real?
So yeah, that appears to be quite real. So I think there were a lot of things in the movie that you can kind of take as real, but a lot of like the private conversations are more the things that you kind of wonder about, right?
And the film glossed over his Halliburton time when he was CEO of the oil company, Halliburton, and probably because it probably wasn't that interesting, but there's probably a lot of detail, like muddy details into like motivations and shit like that would have just bogged the movie down. But at the same time, I think Dick Cheney's Halliburton connections had a lot to do with decision making. And the film doesn't really touch on any of that. They show it where he's talking to his attorney, but you can't hear what they're saying. And everybody's wondering in this moment of crisis and on 9/11, why is he talking to his attorney? And it's just like, it's the audience is meant to connect the dots there.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that. I just don't like, is it true? Or are we just watching kind of our inferred version of history?
Well, most of this stuff you can look up pretty easily. Like, here's the Colin Powell thing. I'm the one who represented it on behalf of the United States of the world, and it will always be part of my record, Powell told ABC News. It was painful. It's painful now. Like, I think a lot of the things you can just go and fact check really easily. And I do remember Colin Powell being sort of like the most trusted person in the cabinet.
Right.
At the time. And then he did step down. So there is a lot of facts in the movie. And there's this great scene at the end where it's like, this is liberal, it's leaning. And then there's the one guy's like, well, it's facts, facts are what they are. And I felt like they did a job. Like, so my feeling is like facts are facts, and facts are actually, they are what they are. And if they shed bad light on someone,
sure,
then you could call them biased, but they're still the facts.
Right.
And I think like the movie did a pretty good job of like showing some of the early stuff he did, where like when his daughter comes out and how, they were pretty accepting, and, and then later that changes. Now, the one thing I don't know for sure is if Dick did advise Liz Cheney to speak out against gay marriage like she did, because I was reading about that. And
that's one of the more heartwarming, heartfelt scenes in the film is when his youngest daughter, Mary, comes out as gay. And Lynn, his wife, is all she's worried about is what's going to do to Dick's political career. And Dick puts his hand on Mary's shoulder and says, it's going to be okay. We love you no matter what. And then the movie, from that point on, as he's contemplating running for president, and then joining the vice president, joining the ticket as vice president, he's drawn back to how's it going to impact Mary. And like, for a film that goes out of its way to paint Dick Cheney as a villain and as the bad guy and as the puppet master, that's something I wasn't anticipating seeing from this film, is that he very much cares for his family. He very much cares for his daughters, and I appreciated that moment, because it was a brief moment. We only got a couple of them where he's interacting on a very grounded level with his daughters, other than when they're kids, where he's being a dad, and so that and a lot of that's acting, a lot of that's Christian Bale being very good in the role, but at the same time, that's good writing, is because Adam McKay recognizes that, hey, yeah, this was a bad dude, for our country. He was not a good guy, but he was still a dad, still a human,
Yeah.
So I appreciated that.
So I am reading too right now about Liz and Mary, and they're actually kind of sort of estranged. Liz did not attend her wedding, Mary's wedding.
Oof.
And I'll say this, this is my opinion,
Yeah.
but I think that Liz only did it for her own career gain.
Sure.
Right.
And the movie kind of spells that out.
The movie kind of says, like, hey, you do support her and everything she's doing, but you have to say no, otherwise you won't get elected.
Right.
Well, then you're selling yourself out, which is something that politicians do all the time. So I don't take, and we talked about other biopics and stuff and how I feel about them and how you always have to fact check them and they're always making shit up. But I think a lot of the things, as far as the political maneuverings in this, so far the things I've looked up all are backed up.
Yeah.
Like I said, the private conversations and stuff might be a little different. I mean, we know they didn't find weapons of mass destruction.
Correct.
And even when back in those days, I'm like, what does Iraq have to do with 9/11? Nothing. Right?
Well, in the movie, and like, so a lot of that, I also did not know to this day that the guy who became radicalized and started ISIS took up shop in Iraq, even as a standalone terrorist.
And he was like kind of a nobody. Right. It was like, at least that's how the film pitches it. Like, and I hadn't heard of the guy. Right. The only name we ever heard of was Osama bin Laden and Al Qaeda.
Correct.
And that this Colin Powell speech is the thing that brought his name into the forefront, is the thing that said Iraq is the problem, and then that's why they went and invaded.
Well, that's the connection that Cheney needed to essentially wage war against Iraq and essentially create ISIS. And so
I don't think I can give credit to Cheney for creating ISIS.
No, but
however, that it looks like this speech by Colin Powell made that guy a name and gave him influence over in those countries for recruiting, and that helped him build ISIS. So, I don't think Cheney was like, let's get ISIS going, but
I think Cheney was, I mean, this is my opinion, but very much interested in the power aspect and kind of the historical ramifications of the time, and in recognizing that moment in the U.S.'s history and the world history will be remembered forever, and capitalizing on that, because and then the whole thing about the Unitarian executive or whatever it was called.
Unititties. So one booby presidential executive theory. It's where the theory that the president has titties.
Donald Trump has titties.
Yes. So
and he may be our next president. So
yeah, well, and has had and been president in the past.
Right.
I think Taft had titties.
Kamala Harris definitely has titties.
She's not the president yet.
Right.
We could.
Hillary
I know
Clinton.
who I'm voting for. I know who
the first presidential candidate to show us their titties gets my vote.
Even if it's Trump.
Listen, what if he was to take off his shirt and it's just tattoos?
It depends on what they're of, right?
I mean, we all have theories about what they could be.
What if it's Sonic the Hedgehog? Would that change things?
I mean, I don't know. Maybe. So a lot of what was talked about in this movie, I'm thinking, I was like, holy shit. And this movie was 2018, right?
Correct.
So in the middle of Trump's first term as president, and it was kind of the writing was on the wall of what kind of President Trump was going to be at that moment.
Yes.
And so a lot of things in this movie correlate to his first presidential term, and then kind of what's come out since then about what a second term of Trump could be, as far as the unity,
well, and plus
executive theory.
That whole thing that they're talking about, the executive theory, was before.
Right. But
the damn Supreme Court,
right?
Did
but
what they did. So
now the Supreme Court has made it law.
Yeah,
that the president.
Well, it's technically not law, but has to go through Congress and all that to be law and be signed by the president. Anyway, but it is essentially.
I mean, if Trump gets elected, that's what it's going to be, right?
I mean, almost certainly, but I just think we're fucked. Honestly,
we've been fucked. we have been fucked for quite some time.
We are doomed. I mean, I don't know who can save us.
Listen, it's nobody that we're thinking of. And that's the thing about this movie is it's very. It has a lot of stuff that like are nostalgic for me.
Yeah.
Because I remember 9/11. I remember.
You're nostalgic for 9/11.
Yeah. I just love to see buildings fall. George W. Bush was in Jacksonville at the time. That's where I grew up, Jacksonville, Florida. He was reading a book to.
That's where he was. That classroom was in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I just remember then that correlation, between Jacksonville and 9/11. That's where the dots are. But no, I just remember all of that, and I remember I obviously I did not know anything about Dick Cheney telling the president, "Oh, nope, stay up in the sky, bro. Your shit might get blown up too." So Dick Cheney could kind of run things. I thought that was interesting. I thought
that's one where I'm not sure.
Right.
Like, are we getting that? Because who knows what happened in that room? And even Jesse Plemons, the commentator over the top, is like, we don't necessarily know what happened in that room. But there were people there who could verify whether or not that he said that. So
sure. Yeah. So, anything about this film that you didn't like?
It made me feel dread that we're fucked. No, I can't think of one thing. I think like it's excellent. Like we could talk about the acting, even the casting of Mary, with Alison Pill was fantastic. Not because she's in the movie that much. She does have a couple small parts, but she looks just like Amy Adams to me in this. Like I thought for a moment Amy Adams was playing two roles.
De-aged Amy Adams, which is just Amy Adams.
Which is just Amy Adams playing Mary, and then Amy Adams playing Lynn Cheney. So I thought that was like the casting across the board is great. I mean, a couple of them I would say like Steve Carrell, and these are not against their performances, but Steve Carell and Tyler Perry kind of stuck out to me where I like, that's Tyler Perry, that's Steve Carell. And it just kind of, I never got to the point where I didn't see them. Whereas with pretty much everyone else, I'm like, damn, that is George W. Bush. Shit. I mean, obviously he looks just like Dick Cheney in this shit. There's so many moments where I'm like, damn, they nailed it. And I think Lynn Cheney. So those would be the only critiques I have. But I think this is really excellent and extremely well acted and funny. I love when people who do comedy, when they stray from the track, remember their roots. Right? They remember. It's like when Sam Raimi was directing Spider-Man and he got to Spider-Man 2. And then he does that scene, the Doc Ock sort of scene waking up, and it's just like Evil Dead.
Yeah.
And there's moments in this that felt like the sharp right turns and everything. And again, that reveal of Kurt and who Jesse Plemons is, I felt like I got hit by the car because it was just so excellent.
Well, the movie, he is
no warning.
Right, he's a main character in the film.
Yeah, and you don't know what he's doing, but
Right.
you see like him with his family.
Yeah.
And then you see him serving in Iraq.
Right.
And then you see him getting home and, he's getting ready to just take a jog. And at this point, you've seen so many scenes of him just doing sort of mundane shit
Right.
that it comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And it was so genius because, like, I don't know, it's my favorite part of the movie, to be honest, is the Jesse Plemons arc is so good.
No, and he's the narrator, but he's also,
and then he's gone.
Right.
Like when he dies, you get a couple more words from him that are great, like where he talks about, he never refers to it as, being my heart, or he's never said anything about, he always refers to it as his own heart, and I just kind of like,
and he says that's pretty shitty.
He's like, even now that makes me feel pretty shitty.
Yeah.
Even though I'm dead. But obviously that is not based on facts, him saying that, because no one, he was dead.
I wasn't even aware that Dick Cheney had open heart surgery.
Yeah,
so.
and I think that's the thing, too, is I
know he had a heart attack at one point.
He had heart problems, because there was a point where he was in Gainesville, and I had joked, like, if I had went, I'd just be like, hey, Dick Cheney, what's going on? And just approach him really fast like that and just see what happens.
Good way to die.
That's what my dad said. He said, son.
Although, I don't know, Secret Service has gone downhill lately.
But this is years ago. This is post 9/11, like right after 9/11.
Yeah.
There was no
you would have
way.
died for sure.
Yeah. And pointing out that other guy died too. So regardless of whether my attempted assassination tip on Dick Cheney going, ironically, I had a heart attack.
For the FBI that's listening.
We got to talk about him having heart attacks in this movie.
Yeah. How did you feel about that?
I loved it. Because like the first one, it's kind of, he's always so nonchalant. So I think he had a different kind of heart attack, right? There's people who have heart attacks.
Are there different types of heart attacks?
Oh yeah, because it depends on the blockage and where
you would know.
Yeah,
Expert.
Where shit is. And he, the way the film portrays it, he had more mild ones than I had, but his kind of kept happening. His was more of a heart disease issue where there was something wrong with his heart that kept doing it. Mine was I had a shitload of cholesterol and one of my arteries got blocked. And but I just like how he's like, I think I need to go to the hospital.
And every time he's like,
gonna
have a heart attack now.
That's hard. He's laying down in the thing and he's like, sir, I'm having a heart attack, you idiot. I thought that was fabulous.
Dick Cheney might be a guy that I wouldn't mind having a beer with.
If he's paying, I don't know. I think I'd rather have it with Bush.
No, for sure. Yes.
Like,
of the two, yes, of course.
Because I think, at the very least, George W. Bush feels more down to earth and more approachable, and that might be because he's portrayed as an idiot. So I feel like I would rather have. So of all the presidents that are living, which one would you want to have a beer with? We're not talking political. We're not saying you agree.
Right.
I'm not a big George W. Bush fan. I'm not saying I'd agree with him. But
he's super likable.
He seems like a really fun guy.
Yeah. Oh shit.
Well, luckily, we're still recording on all the things.
That's weird.
This has a battery in it, so we could be on borrowed time. Okay, we're back.
For you all watching at home, that was
a
bit.
The podcast keeps going, baby.
That was it was random and weird.
That's because I invoked the name of George W. Bush.
But you didn't say it 3 times, so
I dare not. Or 5 times. Are we doing Candyman rules?
No,
Beetlejuice
rules
okay.
For sure. That could be the reason why.
I said it again. Now it's thundering. He's not dead. I don't know how he's doing this.
If you say it again, he comes through the door.
Oh fuck yeah!
I have beer. I have beer in the fridge. Do we have a Ouija board we can summon him?
He's not dead. But if George W. Bush came in this room and we had a beer with him, and talked about Vice,
it would be greatest podcast of all time.
Hands down. No one would be able to touch us.
I'm going to reach out.
You seem to have more success with that than me.
It's between Bush and probably Trump.
I'd be Carter. Although Carter's old as shit now.
He is old as shit. I don't think he could
would die, but Carter being the oldest president, Clinton would be a fun drink.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I'd have to
really Obama. Really, for me, anybody. But I'd have a hard time.
Anybody but Biden.
No, hell yeah, I'd have a beer with Biden.
Would you?
But
how fun would that be?
So everybody thinks he's like the super old man, and he is. He's old as shit. But the times that he interacts with average people, I believe him.
I just think he's so hardened by his life to this point. He's had a lot of shit go on in his life.
Yeah, he's had a lot. But you know what? I'd rather have a drink with Jill.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Jill Biden, that's who should run. Jill Biden. I would vote for Jill.
Maybe. But she's got to be his caretaker now. So, who's taking care of the first man?
We've never had a first gentleman. We might.
We talked in the middle of this movie. We talked about Michelle Obama.
Which not going to happen.
Which would be a slam dunk.
Yes.
Right. Having Barack
if
Barack
run was the first gentleman. Shit.
Talk about first he would live up to the name of gentleman. First gentleman.
What he would set the bar.
Right.
I don't even know the dude's name, but Mr. Harris. His name isn't Harris, but
Mr.
I can't. His second gentleman. He's done a decent job, of being the. He's technically.
I think I've seen him twice.
I've seen some stuff. I follow him on Twitter.
Do you really?
Yeah,
what does he post?
Pictures of his dick. No, he does. He goes to various shit. He does things that the first lady would do, which is just show their face and be around places. That's what he does. And, he does a good job.
The movie we just watched goes out of the way. It says the vice presidency is a nothing job.
Obviously, unless you're Dick Cheney. But I think, if you look at, Pence, there are things
Mike Pence was a cuck, so.
Say what you want about Mike Pence, but on January 6th, he did the right thing.
Sure.
All right?
Sure.
Again, I'm not saying I agree with him.
Over 4 years.
But when we had the whole thing, and when they were still primaries, the farce that was the primaries, everyone knew Trump was going to win again. Pence was the one guy up there where I was like, if one of these people has to be in office, I think I'd be okay with that, because at the end of the day, I don't think he's going to try and upset, the voting. He's not going to have the worst thing that Trump did. And there are a lot, and I don't want to minimize anything, but one of the worst things, and the thing that I really hate the most, is him trying to overturn a valid election.
Yeah.
And trying to stay in power despite not getting the votes. That's to me, one of the worst things, because then we have no power at all. And so when Pence was like, no, well, this is the process, he didn't even fuck around like guys like Lindsey Graham did.
Right.
Where, we're not a politics podcast, but you can't.
There's a lot
not
of politics
talk
that just
about
happened today
with this movie,
us watching this movie.
And so much of it is valid today.
Yeah.
And so much of it is a warning as to what could come if you get a president who doesn't respect the lines of the office. And we are in a place now where those lines are blurred more than ever, blurred more than they were back then. And we have, and say what you want about Biden, he's not going around slapping people on the face with his dick.
No,
but Trump will.
Sure. And that's the thing. So this film shows a lot of people across party lines supporting the farce that was Iraq having weapons of mass destruction.
That's true. And the other thing to talk about the Democratic Party and them pushing Biden out, they wanted Biden in. They got
for sure.
Biden in
right.
because up until there was Super Tuesday, you had a lot of options. You had Bernie, you had Biden, and then, man, I can't remember.
Are we talking about 2016 or are we talking about
2020?
2020.
Well, yeah, but the lead up, you still had like options before the primary, and then Super Tuesday comes around. All of the established Democrats drop out, and all those votes go to Biden, and that knocks out
right.
What's his name? I'm not a crook. Not
Richard Nixon.
Bernie Sanders. So like all of them
right
are shitty.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Some more shitty than others. I'm gonna try to not get too more.
I mean the thing about these types of films where just real worried about something. Right?
I'm just making sure we're good.
Okay.
I know that's getting audio no matter what, but it's not good audio.
No, it would be terrible audio. But the thing about a movie like this that touches like a movie that touches on the times that we're currently living is seen in a different light. We're forced to see it in a different light. It's because we're making correlation between things that are currently happening and when this movie was made.
Yeah.
Which is 6 years ago. And so there is some bias towards how we view this movie.
Yes.
And whether it's correct bias, but at the same time, I think a lot of this movie is just a big foreshadowing of things that are coming. That's what this movie is.
I hope not. But I don't have a lot of confidence.
Right. So, do you recommend this movie?
Yeah. This is great. I'm trying to think of all the things we've seen this year.
Yeah.
And I can't remember any of them, but right now this might be my favorite movie we've watched this year.
Yeah. I echo the sentiment. It is a really good film. Top down, the casting, just the way the story's told, the comedy, everything in this movie hits. And it's one of those rare films that you could probably throw on whenever and find enjoyment with whatever portion of the movie
I think
watching.
it's something where if it's on and you flip to it, which nobody does that anymore.
Right.
I kind of miss those days because there's I'm going to tell another political movie I saw, but when I was younger, I used to love the movie Bulworth. It was a Warren Beatty film.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say how I was watching it, but the movie was on all the time. And I would constantly turn to it. And I've seen Bulworth so many times because of that. And nowadays, there's no flipping around. Nowadays, you pick what you want to watch. I kind of miss having
the randomness of
something that you just go, oh, shit, Hot Rod's on. I'm going to watch Hot Rod again.
Right.
You know. However, there are still some of them where I'm thumbing through Netflix and I don't want to watch any of this crap. That movie I've seen 1 billion times. What about one more? But I think I could. I don't know if I could see this in that kind of rotation because it's not quite the kind of film I would watch over and over and over because it is sort of depressing.
No, it is.
But
it's a heavy film masked as a comedy.
Yeah, I don't know if like I would give it. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's a serious film with comedic undertones and directed in a comedic way, but it is not a comedy.
No. I mean, the last, what do they call those title cards at the end of the movies? Coda. Essentially lays almost 1 million people died as a result of
the Iraqi War.
I
think it was 600,000.
It was 600,000 civilians.
Iraqi civilians.
And then 150,000 American soldiers.
Mm-hmm.
So we're 750,000. And then there was another number
based on
terrorist attack
from ISIS.
Yeah. And so, I mean, you're talking 800,000 people. Holy shit. Like, can you imagine this film being on? Say, just put it in your head real quick.
Okay.
You're Dick Cheney. somebody calls you up and be like, "Hey, Dick,
Hey, man.
just watched this movie called Vice.
Oh, fuck.
Hey, did you really kill 800,000 people?"
Not personally.
But can you imagine your life being memorialized in that way?
He doesn't give a shit.
No, probably not. But could you imagine? Could you imagine his kids? Liz fucking Cheney, Mary Cheney.
They don't care. I don't. Mary might. She seems like the only one with a good head on her shoulders. And that being said, Liz Cheney is one of the few Republicans that I would be like, maybe, right? But don't take that out of context either.
I mean, Biden used to be a Republican.
Well, there's a great podcast called Landslide, and I think you should listen to it if you want more. Like, it's about when Nixon resigned and sort of how our parties became how they are now,
right?
Where there was this more conservative and liberal sort of break in the parties, because back before it was more kind of nuanced,
Yeah,
and it was interesting. But now they're very hard lines. And anyway, so I don't want to talk about politics anymore. I want to talk about video games.
Okay, let's go.
So it's draft night, bitches.
It is draft night.
And so we decided it's a 5-week month.
Ooh.
And the last movie this month is going to be a video game film. And it is going to be in theaters. So maybe do some Googling. You can figure it out, but we'll tell you here in a minute. And we're going to try to go see it in the theaters together.
Okay.
We've never done that before. We might hold hands. We are definitely sharing a Pepsi. That's not going to happen because he drinks diet, and
I do drink diet.
I don't drink caffeine.
Ooh.
Anyway, so we're going to draft. Let me turn my screen so
okay,
you
I'm not
can't
watching
see it. Some video game movies. I have 8 on my list, 8 possible, which is a lot.
And they're all terrible.
No.
Because that's the general consensus about
video game movies are bad. There are good ones out there.
Yeah,
like, I think,
and hopefully we're gonna watch.
I don't want
5 of them.
Like Super Mario Brothers, the new one. It's not bad.
Right.
Sonic the Hedgehog.
Right. Not
Pretty
bad.
good. Not
Right.
bad. I think the best you can hope for with video game movies is not bad. I probably will have picked some bad ones because I have one on here that I've seen, and it's good-ish, as good as video game movies can be.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to draft things I have not seen that are sort of blind spots. But I drafted first recently. You wanna go first for a change?
Yeah, I can go first. So there's of my list, I have 4 films on my list. 2 of them I haven't seen, and 2 of them I wouldn't mind watching again.
Okay.
But I'm going to go with a film that I have not seen.
Yes.
It is from 2020 and stars Mila Jovovich.
Okay, we're doing this movie might be on my list.
We're going to watch Monster Hunter.
It was on my list. And
I have not seen it, so it's probably trash.
It is undoubtedly not good, but it could be
Have you seen it? Okay, good.
It was on my list.
All right, good.
So that saves me from having to draft that. So I'm going to go a little further back in time.
All right.
Which I can't go that far back because video game movies aren't that old. So I'm going to go to 2001.
Ooh.
And I'm going to draft the original Tomb Raider.
Okay.
Directed
the Angelina Jolie one.
Angelina Jolie.
Okay.
I didn't see it in theaters.
Who's the director by?
Simon West, which good luck if you know who that is. I don't. Mostly because I've just never seen it. And in the world of video game movies...
Wait, you've never seen this?
I've never seen the original Tomb Raider.
Okay.
I hear the sequel is better, and maybe we'll get to that in July or June of next year. But I'm not planning on drafting the sequel because that's just too much Lara Croft for me.
All right. Well, that's
so
fine.
Don't watch the remake that recently came out. We're watching the original Angelina Jolie.
All right. I think I want to watch from 2019, starring Ryan Reynolds, or the voice of Ryan Reynolds, and that other guy.
They'll be typing it out already.
Detective Pikachu.
Oh hell yeah!
I've seen it. It's been a minute since I've seen it. I mean, 2019 wasn't that long ago, but from what I remember, I enjoyed it. I wouldn't mind watching it again, and so there's that.
That was the one movie on my list that I had seen and thought about picking again because I did enjoy it. And I like Pokemon. Anyway,
I thought about picking Pokemon the first movie.
Yeah, I kept away from that because it almost doesn't feel like a video game movie, even
There's
though
nostalgia for me.
Yeah, but I've got two movies. I really want to pick both of them, but I'm not going to because I can't. I'm trying to think of which one is going to be the least terrible. I think we're going to do this one just because I like the lead.
The suspense is killing me.
So from 2007, it stars Timothy Olyphant, who I've always been a fan of.
Yeah, I like
I
Timothy
think he's really funny. I don't think anyone else is in this film. It's directed by Xavier Gens, G-E-N-S, or Gens, if you pronounce GIF correctly. It is the movie Hitman.
Okay.
Based on the series Hitman.
Who's the female in that? I might have seen this a long time ago.
Olga.
Yeah.
Carrell.
Yeah.
You might have seen this. I can pick my other one. How about this? I'll give you a choice.
Okay.
All right, so that's your first option.
Okay. Olga Kurylenko. She's a pretty big action.
Now, I've not seen either of these, but this other choice is just a year later from 2008.
Okay.
Stars Mila Kunis.
Ooh.
And Mark Wahlberg, as well as Ludacris, Chris O'Donnell of Robin fame.
What movie is this?
It came out in 2008. It is Max Payne. Neither of these movies have a very good reputation.
I don't think I've seen Max Payne.
You want to do Max Payne?
Let's do Max Payne.
Let's do Max Payne.
Let's
okay.
do Max Payne.
I like when we work together.
Did you say what we were watching for our fifth movie yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
Why don't you do that while I type?
All right. So, to cap things off, for Video Game Month, me and Jeff are going to go to the theaters and we're going to watch the upcoming Borderlands. Not Borderlands.
Yep,
Borderlands
with Jack
movie,
Black.
Starring Jack Black, Kevin Hart.
Basically, is it just the cast of Jumanji?
No, because it's got what's her face. Let me look it up. Anyways, we're gonna go to the theaters and watch Borderlands, and we're gonna give you a.
Oh, that's right.
We're gonna give you an episode. We're gonna.
We haven't figured out how we're gonna film that yet.
I would do it in my truck. I have the stand in my truck.
Okay. This is gonna be hilarious.
Kate Blanchett is.
I love Kate Blanchett.
Yeah. So we're gonna go to the theater, and then right after the movie, we're gonna record.
In the car, in the parking lot, with our shared Pepsi in our hands that we're not actually going to share because I'll be having a Sprite.
Should we be driving around while we do it?
Hell no. You can get me killed.
Movie Draft House on the road.
Movie Drive House.
Movie Draft House Drive Edition.
It could be, but no. So let's run it back down.
Okay.
Video Game Month. So next week we're going to watch Monster Hunter. Probably not good.
Right.
Then we're going to watch Tomb Raider.
Okay.
Maybe,
I don't remember. It's been a while.
Then we're going to watch Detective Pikachu.
Okay.
Yeah. I think this might be our first imperfect month. Like we had our perfect month where we recommended every single movie, both of us, which was erotic thrillers, where we both recommended all 4 pictures that month.
Yep.
And this might be the first one where we have 0 recommendations.
Correct.
I can't see myself recommending, and Detective Pikachu is probably the best of them, and I've seen it, and it's fine. But when our recommendations mean something, it's going to be hard. Maybe Max Payne will blow my balls off, or perhaps Borderlands is actually good. But we're going to watch Monster Hunter, then Tomb Raider, the original one with Angelina Jolie, Detective Pikachu, Max Payne, and then Borderlands. It's going to be a month of films. I'm probably going to feel the same way when we get to the end of that month. Be like, fucking hell.
Can't wait for this month to be over.
Shit.
I mean, at least the films that we're gonna watch, they're probably
I'm
entertaining.
probably gonna have a lot more fun this month than you are.
No, I mean, I've seen two out of the three. So it's
so you've seen Tomb Raider?
I've seen Tomb Raider and I've seen Detective Pikachu. It's been a while since I've seen Tomb Raider, but I'm an Angelina Jolie fan, and great casting.
There's no one else.
Right, great casting.
To encompass the original Lara Croft, like the new Lara Croft, they did a good job casting her. Right, different people,
right,
different characters. But when it came down to like who you cast as Lara Croft, the original polygon boobs, perfect.
Yeah.
So that to me is like.
So I went and saw.
That's like Patrick Stewart as Professor X is like, yeah,
duh. There's
no one else,
right? Or what's his face is Iron Man.
Oh yeah,
Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah.
But I went and saw Twisters.
Oh, did you like
the
that?
other day? Yeah, it was very good. Very good. Very summer blockbuster film. But Daisy Edgar Jones,
don't know who that is.
Well, look her up. Is the star of that movie, and she is a British actress, and looks very much like Lara Croft. And Amazon is looking to cast somebody for the role of Lara Croft in their upcoming Tomb Raider show.
Yeah.
I throw my support behind her.
I can get behind this.
Anyways, hit the back catalog for my 5-minute review of Twisters.
You know who I really go on YouTube. But you know who I really want?
Who?
To play Lara Croft? Jack Black. He's fucking playing everything right now.
R.I.P. Tenacious D.
They'll be back. All right. I understand why what's happening is happening to Tenacious D.
Give me the 5-second version.
But okay,
because I still don't understand.
There's no real fun. So basically, they were at a concert. So
yeah.
This is after the assassination attempt on Trump,
right?
And Kyle Gass, the second member, the other member besides Jack
probably
Black, says something along the lines of "Don't miss next time."
Okay.
Or like that would be a good birthday present, or something like that.
Sure.
Insinuating that it'd be better if Trump had been assassinated.
Right.
And because of that, to the backlash, Jack Black has suspended their tour. Kyle is sort of on suspension. He's lost a lot of deals like that he has. You know, I don't know what. I mean, he's a fat white guy. We don't get a lot of deals, but. I think, should we joke about presidents being assassinated? No. But I don't think that what he's done is worse than anything Donald Trump has done. And he is nominated for president.
Sure. Well, I mean,
Kyle Gass is a guy who's a comedian and an entertainer who said it's so ridiculous to me.
I'm surprised that Jack Black took such a staunch stance on that.
He had to.
I don't think so, though.
It's his reputation. Like, he has such a good reputation.
Sure, he's seen as a real nice guy, and I get it. But
definitely,
Tenacious D has been around forever.
And afterwards, both Trump and Biden were like, we need unity. And one of them still sticks by that. Take a guess which one. He's not running for president, unfortunately. And it's like, we need to lower the temperature of our rhetoric, which is long overdue.
Sure.
And I think this movie also that we were talking about just kind of reiterates that. We got to stop vilifying everyone, but we've been doing it for so long. And I've here vilified Trump several times, but that's because it's different this time. And that's part of my problem, is that we vilified people who are fine, right?
Yeah.
So McCain and Obama, when they were running, someone was like vilifying Obama, and McCain stopped one of his own constituents and said, no, we disagree. He's a good person, but we disagree. That's where we need to be.
Yeah. We'll never be there again, though.
But I think the problem is we have one guy that really we need to be saying, we can't do this again, right? Anyway, we've probably lost some listeners because we've gotten political. And I do apologize, and I don't think less of you based on who you vote for.
No.
I just can't verbally support.
I do.
You do think less of someone?
The given what everybody knows at this moment in time.
Yes,
I would look at you differently if you voted for Donald Trump. I would look at you different.
I don't look at you differently because you feel that way about someone who would vote for Trump. Listen, I have everyone's families has loved ones that voted for someone that they didn't vote for. And life is short. I've had a heart attack. And that shouldn't get in the way of you having a great meal together. You shouldn't discuss politics at the dinner table. And because shit, we've seen now there's nothing we can fucking do about it. So,
or there is, get out and vote in November.
That is true. Let me also put my hat back on. Get out and vote for whoever's running against Trump in November.
So anyways,
this is our most divisive episode since Encino Man, when you and I disagreed.
What you can do, though, in the interim is hit the subscribe button when it pops up if you're watching on YouTube so you don't miss out on any future content that we're putting out there. And if you want to follow the podcast on all your favorite social media platforms, we're at Movie Draft House.
Yes.
You can follow us on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, right here on YouTube where you're watching us. Give us a like, follow, subscribe. If you want to follow Jeff on Twitter and be like, hey, man.
While I'm still there.
I heard you wanted to assassinate somebody.
Nope. Categorically false.
You can find them at Podcast by Jeff.
You can. And if you want to get in touch with Mark and say, hey, I'm going to set up a date with you and shirtless, tattooed Donald Trump.
Listen, I take it.
You would.
Me and that man would be on a date. We would be on a date.
I would want that reality show.
I would too. I'd love it.
I
think that man.
If you are a producer who can make that happen, you can find Mark on Twitter at I Heard You Like.
Donald Trump would win so many people back over if he was he'd lay down the rhetoric and he would just be his unequivocal self.
That's who he is. That's the problem when you're a liar. You're an unequivocal liar, and you just can't help it.
No, he blows with the wind. So,
he blows.
But anyways,
welcome back to the Politics Draft House.
Anyways, catch us next week as we embark on video game.
No politics
next week, unless the country somehow implodes, which it's currently doing. By the way,
I think we'll be all right. I think we're just going to talk about Monster Hunter. There's no way Monster Hunter can get us into a political conversation.
Don't say ever. No, don't say never. But
never.
I'm not looking forward to a 20-minute episode because the movie's so trash.
We can get back into politics, I guess. But do you think by next week we'll know who the Democratic nominee is? Of course, by the time this comes out, which this is coming out Thursday.
No, this is Thursday.
So we should be okay.
We're up against it.
Yeah, I don't know if we'll know. I mean, Biden endorsed Harris, but I don't know.
Yeah, we won't know the ticket.
Yeah.
We'll only know the ticket like 2 days before the
it's
Democratic
like 2 weeks
National
till
Convention.
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see.
We'll keep you updated. No, we won't.
No. This is not our forte.
Anyway, Jeff, any last words?
Fuck off. No, I don't mean that. Come back. I'm sorry. Some of you probably would have after this episode. Have a great day. Love your loved ones, regardless of who they voted for. And pay attention and listen to facts and
go watch Vice.
Yeah, watch Vice. Fucking do that.